these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
What's up, everybody? Talking to your mother. Just kidding. We're professional hippies, and we take our business very seriously around here. And,
every step of the way.
Today's been a long day for us, folks. If we can just go ahead and level where we're at. Part of being a professional is you work, right? You work hard, and I think today was.
This podcast don't fund itself, folks.
Yeah, right. A primo, exemplary example. You know, maybe today we'll just talk in double entendres the whole episode. So what we like to do is bridge the gap between, you know, some hippie woo-woo, some out there woo, and some practical, everyday, conscious capitalism. Somewhere in the meaty middle of that is where you're going to find us. And hey, if this is your kind of space and place, we'd love to have you. And if you're enjoying what this journey is all about so far, please leave us a review. It helps with the algorithm and all kinds of stuff like that. So anyway, Dylan, how you doing, buddy?
We all love the algorithm, right?
Dude, I can feel my face lighting, so my speech is impeded right now.
That's what the internet runs by these days, the algorithm.
The Matrix, man.
It used to be a 9 to 5. Now it's an algorithm. Gotta get your algorithm up.
By the way, did you know that 9 to 5 was invented by Henry Ford?
Yeah, he created the 5-day work week, the 9 to 5. I think he did that too as well. He did that too as well to like boost, because he wanted to get people more paychecks and more money. So he said like, hey, if you work more, you'll get more money.
And it's funny, I said an absolute there, and I was in a conversation with someone the other day, and one of the things that I spoke to was that, like, I just discovered a pet peeve of mine is speaking in absolutes. Can't stand it. And yet, I spoke a fact. Like I knew it.
So so when you're saying absolutes, you're just like, you're saying it is what it is without the confirmation of that?
Well, especially in the spiritual community is where it came up. And someone that will be coming on our podcast soon, but let's just, did you say God?
Yeah.
Yeah, God's
You were
welcome.
talking about the spiritual, and you were like, someone's going to be coming on. I was like,
No, it was actually a really interesting scenario where Abby and I went out the other night to have some drinks, and we were just chilling at this cool spot, and I'm about ready to go. I had some barbecue, so I was just like, blah, fuck this place. And this guy was like, hey man, cool stone, and he was asking me about my necklace. And long story short of it, he was like, we were talking about plant medicine or psychedelics or something. He's like, I did not expect all of that to come out of you. And I was like, why do you say that? He's like, you're just kind of like an undercover hippie. And I was like, hey, very on brand, right? So long story short of it, he invites us to a party the next day, and we end up going. It was super cool. That mansion party thing out on my Instagram story. And we all go out the other night and get toasted, and I was like, dude, you need a place to stay. You just stay at our place. He was like, yeah, cool. So we woke up the next day and smoked some weed and talked about God, as you do with your newfound friends. And one of the things that came up was talking in absolutes. So
yeah.
That's just a pet peeve of mine, especially when people either have like a savior complex or prophesizing whatever they think this reality is and how things are. Like the word construct. People talk about constructs all the time, a social construct. Like it's a bad thing. A construct is got to be similar to a contract, and we're saying my red is your red, my blue is your blue. That there are constructs that we like live reality through. It's like the word consequence. People always think bad. Consequence just means outcome, effect, because of a result.
A lot of people that do that are like new people to psychedelics, I feel like.
Dude, I would say people that are more experienced with psychedelics.
I think it's both. I think the people in the happy middle, once you get past the stage of thinking you know it all and thinking your grandma should also be doing this stuff, and you're like, oh, then you finally have a bad trip, And you're like, oh, I don't know everything about this. That's right. There's bad times to this sometimes. But then you have the people that are on the back end that do 10 sheets at a time thinking they know how to do it, and then they're like, I know everything that there is to know about it. So I think there's like we all feel like that's what this podcast is about, the happy middle portion,
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, I mean, here's the deal. I'm not saying this like I'm not guilty of it, right? Like there's certain things that I speak to, probably things we'll talk about on this podcast. So like I feel firmly in, but even then, one of the reasons why I connected with this gentleman is because when we were talking about hippie woo woo shit at the, it's not really a bar, but we'll call it a bar, kind of a hangout spot. He kept leaving a back door open. He would say da 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 or whatever. Like just kind of like take it. And I'm like, man, those are the people I can really resonate with because it's like science. We have laws. There's scientific laws that as we understand the world, like laws of thermodynamics and the law of gravity. Like there are things that are theories and there's laws. Like, no, this is the way it is. Absolutes, right? Until you look at a fucking black hole, you have to suspend all of physics, all of everything when addressing a black hole. We don't know what it does. We don't know why it's there. We don't hardly know anything about a black hole, and it fucks up all of our absolutes. So we go, all of these are absolute laws. Just don't look at that thing. So even the absolutes into the universe can't be absolute.
They're getting pretty good at understanding a little bit more about black holes.
What? Like fucking what? We took a picture of it for the first time 2 years ago?
Like for the example of like why it's called a black hole, it's just because that there's the gravity of it, the light just can't escape it, right? So what's going on into there? You just go into a suspension. So things are getting sucked in, and it just becomes into a suspension in there because the gravity is so dense. Right?
Where's it getting suspended, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, I believe there's from what
where God is this where God
comes back in?
Is your God in your black hole?
What happens is a super. I call it a super sun.
Okay.
Supernova explodes, right? And what's left is like this huge ball of energy that starts sucking everything into it. So there's just a deep ball of energy in there that's sucking everything in, and the light. That's as far as I gotten that I can explain it. So
that was good. I wanted to put you on the hot seat there.
I love space. I love space. If someone said, "Hey, we're gonna rock you out into space, and you'll survive for the rest of your life, but you're never coming back," send me, baby. Let's go explore.
Well, funny enough, most people wouldn't believe this. You're in space right now.
Yeah. I love the fact that we're not like the mindset everyone thinks we're just sitting still, but not only are we circling around the sun, but the sun is also moving through space while we're also circling around it. We could just smack into something come in this direction at the same time, but it
100%.
won't.
100%.
Because we're going that way and everything else is going that way.
It gets kind of weird when you start to talking like miles per hour that the earth is rotating around the sun, traveling through the universe. Because then you go relative to what? Like, that's how we measure everything. Like, we agreed 1 mile. Well, first, fuck the imperial measurement system. 1 meter, like whatever distance that you want to like break things down is based on Earth. So that when you say miles per hour or kilometers per hour, relative to fucking what? Like in space, when our galaxy is rotating around another galaxy and it's super massive black hole at the center of the universe, so we're just like, what are we doing? What's going on here?
Have you seen the animation where it shows our galaxy, the Milky Way, going in 4 billion years, it'll collide with another galaxy? And then it'll just form. They'll just keep going, but separate all these suns. It's like, oh, there's the end. That's right. Like
when I trip hard enough, I can press fast forward on that.
There it is, right there.
You ever just have a trippy experience, and you're sitting there running experiments in your head? You're like, what?
Yeah.
What would it look like if it just zoomed out on the universe or zoomed in on the universe? You're looking at a blade of grass, and all of a sudden everything's fractaling, and you're going deep, and you find yourself in a in a loop. You're like, oh,
Nope.
Oop.
Shouldn't have done that. Get on back here.
you just wrangle in your mind for a second. You're,
You're with a fishing pole. You throw it out to this pool of nothingness. And you're like, somewhere my brain will catch it.
I'm asking that question like I haven't for sure looked over your face sometimes and see you have one of those moments where you're like, get it together.
You get it together. It's coming.
Man, that's when people talk about psychonauts, people that love psychedelics and you get out there trippy hippies.
Psychonauts. I like that. The psychonauts.
I know, man. I think about myself as a psychonaut or some kind of acid cowboy. I'm just like getting out there, man. And I haven't really tripped in a while. I'm itching for a good trip. Really
Me too.
grab a hold of
Me
that
too.
consciousness.
My friend and I did not too long ago. That was fun. We did like an all day thing. We got up at 5:30 a.m. And really got the day going.
In nature, or where'd you do that?
Just at the house, backyard.
Okay.
You get a good sunrise. You get a good middle of the day. Going outside in the middle of the day, even like to really actually try to feel the power of the sun. Why? It's going to be hot for a little while. Definitely understandable. But I feel like your senses are enhanced, of course. And to really be like, ooh, like that sun way the hell out there reached right here to be.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
And what was the compound of choice? What facilitated your trip that day?
LSD.
Yeah, see, that's a great all-dayer.
Yeah,
right
we
there.
did. We did 2 of those to start. Like, bam, 2 up front.
To start.
And then to start it out the day.
Okay.
And then a few hours later, we took another one.
Strong
and
start.
then as the trip started coming towards the end, then we started doing a little candy flipping. And then that carried us into the evening, and then we went downtown on that. So that
Wasn't
was
this
nice.
a fucking Sunday?
That was a Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Fun Saturday.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we had like the painting. We did the painting while we were doing it. We painted the backdrop first,
Okay.
per your recommendation.
Yeah.
It was a good idea because
Yeah.
now it felt complete.
Oh, yeah.
At the end,
Oh, yeah.
it was like, that's good. We're leaving. Whereas the last one, we didn't have a backdrop. We were just all over the place on the nice white canvas.
Yeah.
And now you're like, but there's so much white left.
Well, I'll tell you though, the hard part is it sounds like you were tripping. You painted the backdrop, let it dry, and then got after it again.
Yeah. So
That's incredible.
because we
That
did
that
it-
alone is. If
did it-
people understood how hard that is.
Well, we set it outside. We set it outside in my backyard.
Right.
So we did outside painting.
For sure.
And we made
Yeah.
a couple chairs. So we set it outside, and I painted it before the sun started coming up.
Mhm.
So then as the sun came up, it dried it super quick, know,
Nice.
and then we were ready to go by, midday,
7 a.m.
7, 8 a.m. You're like, this is
Sound
what
like you're
morning's
fucking
like.
tripping for a profession, man. Just like, no,
It
we're
was-
serious about our work.
We like to take OSHA seriously around here.
I'll
Set
tell
it
you
up.
something that has really reignited my spark for psychedelics and everything that we're doing is coming back and going to that Eric Pritz concert. And, we talked a little about this on the phone, but I mean, to even take it deeper.
Does the drop ever come? No, it
Right.
doesn't.
I'll tell you with him, it sure did a couple times. We were like, all right, lasers. Doing mushrooms at that show, man, literally just like eliminated so much weight been carrying around from traveling overseas. And Abby and I just traveling together. You just travel, you're in the same space, like really intimate space with someone for a long time. And I don't know. It's like putting up files and you kept calling it a cache. I called it cache, but cache.
Cachet.
Is that what the tech people called it, or is that like where you're just throwing
I don't
a
know.
French flair on it?
They emailed it to me, and anytime I've ever seen it, I call it cachet.
Let's rock with caches. So you take some mushrooms and you'll empty out that cache, and you're just like, "What's the password to my front door again? No, I need a key." Okay. Well, it just it did. It just took an eraser to my whiteboard of like mental bullshit. And
Yeah.
before that, it had been so long since that trip. And this was like 1.5 grams. I don't think I really took that much at all. Maybe 2 grams, enough to take it. And I was just going to Uber home, but I was like totally fine to drive because it was, a long night at the concert. And so, yeah, it wasn't even that much for all intents and purposes. And just the relief I felt. And I was like, man, it's been a long time since I connected to just blowing off some good old mental steam.
It is like it is a nice reset for a little bit to really bring you back and realizing things that you thought were super important that are really just outside of you.
Yeah.
You just come to a realization like, oh, those aren't the important things I should be focusing on. It always helps me to get my anxiety down from that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the nerving part as well, is that some people really shouldn't take psychedelics, right?
You know who you are.
I mean, if you don't, you do. Right? If you don't, you do. But every time I have taken a large amount a macrodose of psychedelics, I typically find myself in some kind of position where I have to accept my finite life. My bullshit problems really aren't that big. My purpose is still unknown, yet infinitely evolving with every moment that I'm presently, attuned to. It typically brings the insignificance and awe of my life bearing down on my shoulders immediately.
Or it takes problems you think are big or a problem you think is going to be a really big issue to go talk to someone about. And then you go through the experience and you're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, to you. And then you kind of think about it and you're like, oh, if I just stop thinking about it, just go do it. It always helps me too.
Dude, did that with me in a breakup.
Yeah.
We were up there in Tennessee, hugging the fucking planet and the universe. Just sit down with me, fucking Indian style, crisscross applesauce, right across from my consciousness, and it's like, hey, man. I know.
I
we're
finally
back.
opened up a little bit to Christy about that trip the other day.
Yeah. How'd that go?
I think we saw something about like someone driving or something while on mushrooms or something. She's like, "You'd never do that, would you?" And I was like, "Not driving, but while in Tennessee, I definitely took that 4-wheeler across the ridge and like had my shirt wide open, my Hawaiian shirt, just driving through the dandelions, the horses on either side." Babe, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was Fabio for about 10 minutes. I was Fabio for 10 minutes, wide open with this 4-wheeler.
I tell you, that was just unbridled humanity at its finest. And I'm so glad whoever vetoed the shotgun and 4-wheeler was a lifesaver, undoubtedly. Yeah. I mean, would have been fucking awesome. Absolutely.
Sure. Sure. Would have been great.
I have 2 beers and I get really unnerved around a gun. I'm like, wow, I know I can't trust my senses. And for whatever reason, that day, who was it that suggested? I think Austin was the one that was like, oh yeah, let's get some 4-wheeler and shotguns. And I'm like, hell yeah. And I
think it was me. I think it was me because I get super anxiety. Like I love guns. I know how to be around them. I know what it is, but I know every problem with a gun starts with exactly what we were about to do.
Oh yeah. The upside and the downside were so disproportionate to each other. I mean, it was like we got a bag of fireworks. We got so many other things, Can-Am, all kinds of stuff to entertain yourself with, and that's like no danger, kill. That's what we want to do. Go blow a hole in the side of that horse and drive off.
Those horses love guns. I was like, what the hell?
I couldn't understand it. Why would a horse hear a 12 gauge not just be shot, just getting racked? I mean,
want to come
clays exploding.
Yeah.
Loving it.
It made no sense. Like, hey, come over. I had to literally get on the 4-wheeler and chase them away. To be like, y'all go away. Like, we don't need you around here.
More of the story, that was just a big old adult playground, wasn't it? A bunch of nature,
awesome.
Animals, good friends, You know,
I wanted, like, we're definitely going to own property in the future specifically for that.
have
We're
to
definitely,
have
we're going
to.
there's going to be 10, 15 years down the road, someone's going to know somebody with a deal with like 50 acres, and you're going to call me up or I'm going to call you up. And we're just like, well, we got to do it.
Dude,
Throw-
how
throw
cool
a
would it be?
trailer on
Like
it.
that's what a real time share is. It
Yeah.
where you just
That's what,
couple of
whatever
boys
you
going
want.
on some property and be like, "Hey man, I broke the tractor. It's your problem now." It's like, dude, come on, man. You know I was going up there.
Well, you got the problem now. So
Like, well, guess what? I bought a four wheeler, so you probably fucking have a good time on that while you fix the tractor.
I broke yeah.
Fucking break one thing, buy another thing. That's the American dream, and that's what I'm all about. I love that idea.
We'll definitely be doing that one day. Yeah, I need it for this week. Well, I had it for this week. Well, we're both there. Chaos.
Yeah, I know, right? Like that's the difference. You go on a timeshare, you gotta actually coordinate that shit. But
And I was looking up properties not long ago. It's like you could get probably 20 acres, I think, for 200,000 is what I saw. Like, I mean, it's got trees on it and stuff. It's nothing. It's a
By the way,
forest, basically.
I learned recently about this loan for shit like we want. Exactly what we're talking about. It's the rural development. I can't remember the name of this loan,
Where you
but
have
it does
trees
start
on
with a word that no one can pronounce correctly. I'm not sure. There's going to be stipulations involved with it, but the loans are like I think it caps out at 3% interest. And
if you put one cow on it, it becomes an agricultural land.
yeah, there's other shit you can do like that. So, we could have some pretty easy producing. You can even lease part of land to farmers and they're fired up, and they'll pay that whatever so you buy 20 acres and you lease 5, 10 of it to a
A
farmer.
lot of tree farms like doing that.
Yeah.
Because then they don't have to own the land. They're like, oh, we'll just buy the trees back off if you don't mind. In the contract stating those trees go to us when you sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that. So there's a lot of options, kind of like house hack property like that, and I think about that a lot because I loved that process in Tampa. You're a big part of helping out with that house too. Well, with the yard part. I mean, it was cool. That was a community. That was a village. Help me out with that.
A lot
house.
of people chipped in for that. You had neighbors helping,
Mm-hmm.
with that. It was neat.
Great learning experience. And I think, what do you think? Here's kind of a juicy one to get into. What do you think is going to go down with this housing market, or up?
I don't think it's going to go down much at all. That's everyone. Here's the thing: is I think everyone's thinking housing market because it happened in our lifetime in 2008. But think about this: is after the Great Depression, everyone kept saying for the longest time the stock market is going to crash again. Stock market's going to. How long? It never crashed again for the longest time, But that was what it was on their mind because that's what happened in their lifetime. This housing market, so many things have been put in place since 2008, since that happened, specifically to not let that happen again. What this has allowed, the reason why the housing market is such an issue, the COVID didn't help, but it was already going up before COVID. It's just there's a low supply of homes and more people are wanting to get out of cities where rent's going up significantly, so they're wanting to go out to the suburbs. And everyone was going like this to get into the cities, and so the price of the houses were going down, but now everyone's coming back out. And so now everyone was focused on rental properties in the city, that the amount of homes being built went down, but now everyone's going out, the house supply is going back up. So I don't think it's going to be the housing market that's going to be an issue. I think the market's going to hurt for a little while, and I think the student loans are going to be a huge issue. I think what happened in 2008 with the housing market, it's going to happen with student loans. If the student loans go into default for most people, it's not really going to affect anybody's pocket because they weren't paying it anyways. They're putting their money into homes instead. I think it's going to be a serious government issue, and I think that's going to affect uncertainty in the market, and then the market's going to go down for a little while. I don't
the
think it's gonna
market
be too
going
much
down. But
housing.
here's what I'm okay. So we kind of went in a couple of different directions there.
I think it'll keep going up.
What piece of information would make you think or entertain the idea of that it's going to go down? Well, if you were privy to one piece of information, if there was one thing you were introduced that like totally 180'd, what would that piece of information be?
It depends on your location. I think if you're in California, housing market's going to go down. If you're in Florida, Texas, Arizona, it's going to go up. If you're in New York, it's going to go down. So I think it's going to depend on your location.
Here's what I'm kind of getting at here is that, like, I mean, even bring up student loans, like, let's say if that gets forgiven, I don't see that really making any kind of difference in the market. I don't really see that, like, really impacting the market in a significant way.
It affects the government, but it's more of a restart. They'll just have to write off the debt.
Yeah, but, like, all the same systems are still in place. Like, the price of tuition's the same. It just goes
It would
back in.
it would actually help. It would actually make the housing market worse because then so many people's debt would get wiped out. That's a lot of people. That's half of a mortgage payment.
I hear you. I mean, here's right. But that money that's going to a student loan, oftentimes, I mean, what is the average student? There's definitely a number. What's the average student graduate with per year in student debt? I'd say 35,000. Does that sound about right?
No.
55?
It's 50 plus, 50,000 minimum, 50
I
plus
don't
from
see
now.
it breaking 50. I'll look it up.
I did 3 years. I could have done it in 2, but I did it in 3 because I was doing engineer classes my first year. My AA was already taken care of, so this is just bachelor's. I graduated with $60,000 in debt.
Yeah,
And that's not even at a like USF has become a good high end school, but it's not the higher end school. It's not a private school. A lot of kids are going more towards liberal arts schools, and
well, here's the
they're gonna
deal.
be hundreds of.
I hate to do this, but I'm typically right. And yet again, I am right. The average student loan debt after 4 years is $32,000. And the reason I calculated that, see, you thought it higher because your experience was that of a degenerate. And to that, I would stack on, so was I at a full ride, and I graduated with $35,000 in student loan debt. So, that was purely party and drug money. I mean, like, I think $6,000 went to a car, maybe. So anyway, I just know that.
What does that say? I'm just curious. What you read? What does it say? Like, why does it say that the average debt?
Some kind of study or something. I don't know. Federal Reserve.
You should put in what is the average debt of a college graduate?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Does that say no? Did you put average cost of a college
student debt in perspective?
But is it a graduate
after 4 years of a degree? I mean, what do you
after 4 years of a degree?
Got it. What like how?
I don't just seeing how you worded it. Just seeing how you worded it. You love to call people idiots while finagling things your way. So.
Well, by the way, that's how you win. I'm a winner. Okay. Now, so like that money isn't going to be really that missed. Questionable. Like what is that payment a month? $300, $400? Now to like the doctor that's not going to get this forgiveness, that'd make a massive fucking difference. That's a person.
To people. If I didn't have to pay my $300, almost $400 a month towards student loans, that would be huge. I would put that right back into the market right now.
You might, but like
massive.
who else? Like what most people are going to do is influence the market through Uber Eats and clothing and shit they don't need, right?
Sure.
Which will create jobs, but it will, I think, further decentralize income going towards stuff like Etsy and creative projects and funds. Like when you think about $300-$400, most people aren't thinking, how can I invest this? Otherwise, the average household income wouldn't have less than $10,000 saved. Like,
but for those thinking about it too, let's say, that's going to be $36,000 or $3,600 a year. I mean, right? So $3,600, that could be a down payment on a lot of different things too.
It could be if you're smart with your money. That's what I'm saying. Like the the mechanism that's not in place
Well,
right now is just people.
I think there's a lot of smarter people than we thought, and I think that we learned that over COVID, right? So a lot during COVID, the savings was the highest that it's ever been in the country, and the debt was the lowest it's been in the longest time in the country.
The debt for what? We were spending money like fucking crazy on these vaccines.
I'm talking about personal, like the personal debt amount. The average debt amount was the lowest it's been in a long time, and the savings was the highest in a long time, right? So there's enough people smart enough to have been able to do that, it affected.
But is that enough?
Numbers.
Is $300 a month enough to put immediate stress and take off what limited inventory is currently in the market?
Think of the type of degrees most people are getting: business degrees, liberal arts degrees, philosophy degrees, teacher degrees. Those people aren't making high-end amounts of money. So $300 is going to be a car payment.
If I gave the average person a $300 raise per month, they're buying a house now?
No, they're going to be able to put it towards, dude, I make more money than the average person at my age, and $300 would be beneficial. And
$300 doesn't hurt anybody, but I'm saying, is that enough money that it puts immediate pressure that it really affects the housing market?
Yeah, because you're doing it across the board, across millions of people.
Sure, I mean, in the aggregate of the data, sure, I'm confident this would be statistically significant.
And I'm saying $300, right? Look up, Mr. Smart Guy, what the average student loan payment is. I'm saying $300 because, again, like you said, that's my specific thing. I refinanced my loan. Prior to that, before refinancing, it was at $500, right? So it depends on your situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on your situation. That's why Fannie Mae's a thing. They got the evil company, SoFi. Those companies,
That's what I refinance with.
I went through average student loan monthly payment is $393.
Okay. That also means there's people in the 600, 700. That's probably more by choice, but
more by choice. You think they're like, nah, I want to pay a higher interest payment.
Yeah, that's what I chose. Well, there's not really a higher interest payment. It's just I want to pay it off quicker. So they'll select a more fixed income amount or fixed interest amount to pay it off quicker instead of saying, hey, I'm going to leave a variable over
with
30 years.
The ones that you pay off quicker, they would raise the interest rate. If you select the option, it would actually be a higher interest rate because they're fixing it to the schedule to try and like get a similar interest payment from you as if you did it over a 30-year.
Yeah,
so I just kept it a 30-year fixed. And I was like, I'm just going to pay it ahead. It even gave me the option.
Pay the principal down quicker, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, why would I don't understand. The only convenience that you're offering me is that you're going to deduct more money per month, but you're charging me like $20 an extra month to just do it for me. Like, I'll just press the button. Thank you.
Yeah, just give me the lowest monthly payment, then I'll pay it off quicker. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Right. But anyway, I think there's other mechanisms that the government can definitely explore to, move the market more than forgiving student loan debt.
But to your reason why I think the housing market would go down, I specifically think it's just going to be by location. I already don't think the housing market will go down in itself, but I think where the location is at is going to mean the housing market's going to go down. Basically, in Florida, you can buy a rental property and put whatever you rent you want. Someone's going to put it in there, right? So,
yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, I think about, how much do you think I could have got for rent in my house in Tampa?
Dude, for the 1-1 in St. Pete that we just closed on, right? Rent's probably going to be between $1,595 and $1,695. That's where we're looking at it for a 1-1 condo in St. Pete.
Yeah, I think, man, the more I revisit that, I think I really should have had a tough conversation with Buddy and just not had to move in at all. But then renters are a pain in the ass. It is just a thing,
We're going to pay someone to take care of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to pay a a person to take care of the rental, like managing the rental, finding tenants, background checks on the tenants. It's not really that bad of a cost to do that. It's a lot of basic stuff. It's just the time that it takes to do it.
Yeah.
Some realtors just do it because it is basic, and they get like a little chunk each month of the rent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, property management is actually like a great thing. I have a buddy that has a big property management company, and his real estate company fucking crushes it because when people want to sell their stuff, you know, he can represent as the listing and the buying agent. But I do see, I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I do think the housing market will be adversely affected because, you know, if I'm going to be frank, a lot of talking heads that I admire and look up to and are very, very influential people in the market in general, these billionaires. And, yeah, I mean, when you look at what the Fed the levers that the Fed has to pull to affect the market, because we were so red hot for so long, and affecting the market overall is also kind of affecting some of the funds that's available to support this decentralized economy. The same thing where people are like, hey, I'm working virtually, remotely, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these are tech companies too, right? So when you have the public funding from someone going, you know, IPO and through their shares and things like that, and they're being damaged through, that means that affects their ability to invest and to spread themselves out, right?
Yeah.
So that is also what is causing a lot of this shortage from people thinning out, as it were, versus being in the cities. And I'm not necessarily saying that the market going down moves people back to the cities, but it's definitely going to cause something. Inflation is just a motherfucker here.
With inflation going up too, people are starting to move out of the cities because it's more expensive to live in the cities and it's cheaper to live out in most places in rural areas, right? Like it's probably cheaper as far as cost of living goes to live cheaper in Lakeland than it is in Tampa, right? And so when I'm thinking about this too as a future prediction, I think a lot, you know, as the inflation goes up, we might hit a recession, right? And when we hit that recession, a lot of people are going to pull their money back in, and they're not going to be spending as much. We've kind of seen that happening now. People not buying homes as quick because the rates are going back up and the savings are depleting.
Yeah.
But what I think would happen too is that the people that have been like, the housing market's going to go down are going to see it go down a little bit and be like, I told you so. And then it's going to go right back up. That's what I think.
I could certainly see that happening. I just,
I think you know, when people say I should have bought a home, right? I'm waiting for the market to go down. I'm waiting for this to happen. That was in 2020. They missed it. They didn't, the time when people say, here's what I think happens. And this is the difference between a corporation that knows how to do this and someone that says they're going to do it and doesn't, right? So everyone goes, I'm going to wait for the housing market to go down. I'm going to wait for the housing market to go down. And then it does, right? But the time it goes down is usually in a recession or a difficult time for the economy. And then everyone goes, oh, it's not a good time to buy a house. I'm going to retain my money. Well, no, you just missed what you've been saying the whole time you're going to do. That's why these corporations, right? They'll build up their cash on hands to wait for a time of exactly what's happening right now in the market to buy these huge dips. And they usually tell you, oh, these corporations are going, no, save your money. Don't spend it right now, as they're going and blowing a lot of their cash on hand to gobble up all these discounted stocks. Or what Blackstone does, and exactly what they did in COVID, was gobble up all those, the housing. So those people that I look at and they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to wait for the housing to go down. No, you missed it. Actually, It was 2 years ago. Yeah. And when I know you didn't do it then, means you're not going to do it on the next one either, more than likely.
Well, I mean, and that's one prediction, right? I think that there is another reality that could very well unfold, that when you have, here's the deal, the main thing that props up the economy is confidence. The reason that inflation is a thing is because the government wants to incentivize the move of money. We can all agree bad things happen when money doesn't move, right? Like that's how the economy runs. That is an engine that needs to be fed. And that the feed is opportunity, right? you start taking away, you start slowing down, and there's a reason why inflation was as bad as it was this year. Have you personally had the experience where you have looked at something that you used to know, hey, this is a couple bucks, and now it's like a couple bucks more, exact same thing, and you're like, God damn, things are getting expensive.
It's a little more expensive to drive across town now.
Like I saw a sign the other day for a kitchen busser and hostess, $17 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, fuck me sideways. $17 an hour to do dishes.
Teenagers, right in that 15 to 18 range that are still living with their parents with no financial responsibilities yet. Oh, my God, they're getting rich. I hope so. If you're a teenager and you're not getting a job right now in a restaurant or like something like that and making twice as much as the rest of us made, and you don't have to really pay for your food or your air conditioning and stuff,
fucking hell.
What do you do? What are you doing?
Dude,
right?
I mean, I'm like $17 an hour. And that's also a component of inflation. Because of inflation, that is the price that wages are going for now.
I kind of see it happening, though. I like to think about it this way, too, though, as well. If you were to take a 50s person, like someone from the 50s, right, and then talk to them of what going through the 70s and 80s, the spikes were then, too, as well. I almost look at it as what's going on here, and it's just a correction of what's going on. The price of everything.
Correction of what?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. The only thing I am correlating this to is kind of what happened, what those people were seeing when things were ramping up all of a sudden. And then now it stabilized, and then we were at stabilization for a while, and now we're going back through that again. Well, that's a rocky road during that time.
The book that I recommended to you a while back, like Money Mindset, something like that, was the #1 money book in finance and whatever. One of the points that she made in that book, great book. I'll have to seriously look that up. She said, hey, history is a great thing to study, but it's also a very poor predictor of the future. And so I just thought it was such an interesting and ironic concept that's we can look at the previous recessions, but when you think about what's to come, we really don't fucking know.
Well, I don't think we know at all really what's coming, because I don't think it's going, and I believe I said this on the last time, it's going to be a weird type of recession, because it's going to be a recession more on businesses starting, and then that's going to correlate to the consumer. Whereas before it was more as a recession on the consumer, and then we weren't needing anybody, right? But now businesses can't find anyone, and because of that, supply chains are going to go down more. Cost of things are going to go up because of that. So I don't know where in history we've had that problem, because so many people too as well, they're like, oh, I could just go turn on DoorDash for 8 hours, make a bunch of money, come back and, write off my car, write off my house if I was coming from there, whatever they want. So now you're also losing tons of tax dollars at the same time.
Well, tons. I don't know. These companies, man, I love Uber and man, they are making DoorDash money hand over fist, baby. I mean, oh my God, I love it for them too. That's the American way,
The Google
using independent contractors.
The amount of money and the type of money that Google was making, I would say probably the ramp up in the early 2000s, where they're like, they can make cash come out their nipples, basically. That's what Uber and DoorDash and all them, that's what they're feeling now.
Oh man, they are so horny for money right now, and they are getting it, baby. They are the actually attractive stripper at the nightclub.
That's who it's at right now. And because what's their overhead? Oh, we got to pay for some people to come to the headquarters office. Their overhead, they don't even have an overhead for all the people that are making the money for them. Mm-hmm. It's so funny following the Facebook, because I did Lyft, a couple years ago for a little while, and I'm still part of those Facebook groups. How many people complain about, they really are like, the amount of money that they are giving to their workers is dwindling every mile, a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yeah, dude, because the popularity is going up. The opportunity is increasing or it's spreading. So
the gas charge is, I think, 40. They're doing like 41 cents a mile now. So, how much is that even really covering at that point,
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, fuck. I had to get an Uber home with Abby. We were out one night. I think like a night where there's something going on, and some kind of event, some kind of holiday. We get an Uber. I think it was $90 or $100, and for the same ride, it would typically cost $13-15, right? And I'm like, well, fuck me. Well, we got to get home. Like we've already waited for half an hour. It's not gone down. It's only, this is where we're at. This is what it's going to be. So the guy picks us up, and I was like, hey, man, out of curiosity, I'm thrilled you're taking us home. Thank you for this ride. Love the ride. But how much are you making off this ride? And the guy was like, well, what did they charge you? And I was like, about $100. And he was like, God damn. He's like, I'm making $30 off of that. Maybe 36.
Maybe less.
Yeah. And I was like,
less on that.
I was like, here's the deal, dude. And I mean, this was real at the beginning of the ride. I was like, I'll give you $60 cash if you want to take us home. And he was like, oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, let me cancel the ride. And I was like, you have to cancel the ride so I don't get charged. Or I could just pay $55. But he was super excited to do that. And I was like, by the way, you can't do this too often, or they're going to pick up on the fact that you're doing this, And
you can cancel rides. They don't hurt you. You can cancel rides. You can not take things, and it doesn't. Your acceptance rate goes down. But as far as like, if they're
he accepted the ride. Right. I was in the vehicle. We had already started.
Oh, I thought you did it the other way. Okay.
No,
yeah.
No, that's when we were just in mid conversation, in the car, and I was like, hey, by the way, I'd rather toss you $60. You get paid more, I pay less. This is a fucking win.
It's a win-win for everybody, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and New York, RIP yellow taxis. Now the yellow taxis can run on the Uber and Lyft platforms in New York.
And in Greece, I called a taxi through Uber. I mean, I think
Uber's
had their own.
Uber's international too now. That's right.
Yeah, did I tell you about? So in Brazil, I got a lot of Ubers all over the place, and I'm really bad about checking my credit card. If it just seems in the regular parameters of the month, I'm like, yeah, look just kind of in my head, I'm like, yeah, it's probably about right,
Yeah.
And I'm usually pretty good. And I happened to pick up. I looked at my statement, and I was like, it seems a little off. I was like, for shits and gigs. I went in, and I was like, how the fuck did I spend so much money on Uber? Uber just, instead of charging me the local currency, charged me in dollars. And so it's like it's like the peso equivalent, right? And I was like, God damn, dude. I was like, $113 for 4-minute Uber. And they're like,
that's a rip right there.
Yeah, so they ended up refunding me like $600 or something.
Yeah, they better. That's a rip off to somebody. Hey, I'm in this country. This is what the cost is. Not.
Yeah.
But imagine if you didn't, if you didn't mention or say anything.
They're not going to fucking go over their financial records and be like, oh, shit.
Sorry.
Oh, tell me how bad. Oh, how much does it upset you?
Let me pinch that a little harder on you.
Yeah.
Surcharge.
Milk the money out the nipples, as they say. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the market, obviously. But, we've clearly taken two different positions. And here's the thing. I don't want to be right. I'm doing what I think is correct. Because I'm definitely going to be investing here soon. I've been kind of like waiting. But it doesn't help my position, aside from borrowing some, discounted assets.
Yeah, dollar cost average. Still a good time to buy some.
I have been a little bit.
Good stocks right now.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go down. I'm actually going to wait to make some big purchases later in the year when the sell-off happens in October, November-ish. That always happens then. I think we're going to keep going down this year for a little while, and then that's going to be a nice sell-off right there. And then I'm just going to scoop right around that time. But, buying Amazon as it keeps going down a little bit more.
Dude,
Still a good
my
thing to-
crypto wallet is so depressing. Oh my gosh. I think I'm
It's a
down
good
like
time to buy that too. You know?
I have 1/6 of my value or something crazy. Just like,
Yeah, I don't really look at it too often. Doesn't
oh,
bother
dude,
me.
I haven't looked
That'll
at it
be
in probably
fine.
3 weeks. I just keep seeing the headlines. I'm like,
It's
I
been
don't
once it
know.
went down though, it capped out. It's been staying pretty steady. I did see it get. I saw Bitcoin get down to 28.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
it's back up to I think steady around 29,530.
Yeah. Sick. Well, I mean,
Sick. You know what we should have is that another. You know, while it's back down again, we should get another crypto guy, or get
Yeah.
the guy to come back on and be like, "Hey man, it's been a couple years, been a lot of fluctuation down. Where are you at?"
yeah, how you feeling? I'll tell you
How
what, that
you
guy has fucking nuts of steel, dude. Cause I've known him since, he was,
He's like, "I doubled down, baby."
yeah, ride or fucking die. And, I think all of that was to say, hey, confidence moves the market, and a cold market's a bad market for everyone. And so whether or not there are mechanisms in play from, let's say, Big Brother or institutional investors, it's really the perception of the common folk that drive the market. If people get scared and are like, uh-oh, then money is much of a PR problem right now as anything.
Well, it's because of those day traders too, right? Day traders are huge fluctuations in the market itself. But when I read also from the corporate mindsets, they understand there's a baseline. They're like, oh, if every day trader pulled out their money, we know the corporations and how much money they have in the market. It's going to be right here. This is about the baseline, right? And so they know where the dollar is going to hit, the market's going to hit to before it goes back up for the most part, just literally because of that. They know who's a day trader and who's not, and they have computers tracking that shit.
The Wall Street bets. Have you seen the recent thing they did with Costco?
I don't waste my time on the Wall Street. I used to, I tried, and I was like, I'm not going to do it. That's a bunch of people fluffing stocks. I was like,
Oh yeah, for sure. But this was really beautiful what these guys did with.
Tell us. I would like to know.
Yeah, so they basically, Costco sells their hot dogs at a loss. Did you know that? The dollar hot dogs or something?
Yeah, I heard it went up
Yeah.
for the first time.
So
And the CEO's Twitter response was disappointed.
yeah, the reason why they had to raise the prices is because Wall Street Bets had like 12 million members or something, and they calculated, like, as a joke, as a meme or something, how they would all go in and get a certain amount of hot dogs, and how it caused this tumble in revenue earnings and whatever it was. So when their report came out to their investors, their shareholders, they would show a decline in what the effect would be. Sure as shit, this information goes viral, right? Like the Wall Street Bets plan, and just a fucking meme caused Costco's stock to go down 15%. It shows like the time the memes was introduced, virality, like worry, it tracked what this meme did. The meme moved the fucking market.
Well, we saw that a lot with the other plays, right? But here's the thing.
AMC,
That is not a positive move. That hurts me. That hurts a lot of people. There's a lot of people that...
But it goes right back up. I mean, it's a fucking meme.
Yeah, but the CEO specifically wanted to keep it that way. And then if the Wall Street people, they're supposed to be doing good for people, right? And the stock market to help people out. They just hurt everybody that wanted to keep it that way. That was their thing. That was their goal, right? And now the Wall Street's like, we could push up the cost of a hot dog. What are you doing? We're trying to make money
here's
here,
the deal,
not
though.
lose money.
Here's how ridiculous it was. Okay.
I know it's ridiculous. It's huge.
So, I mean, they're like, look, we got 12 million members in the Wall Street Bets. If each member went out and bought 1,000 hot dogs from Costco, we could lose Costco 12 million times 350, because I guess they got the meal deal, whatever going on there, times 1,000 equals $42 billion. Okay, so if we also short Costco before their next earnings report, we can 1, recover the cost of the hot dogs, and 2, make a profit, and 3, get a lot of hot dogs. This is just a man presenting a plan for hot dogs. And if you're so thin-skinned as a man's plan to get a lot of hot dogs really puts a kerfunkle in your pants and says this is not what we stand for, well then by golly, you don't belong to be a member of the Wall Street Bets community. You don't deserve any hot dogs, okay? This is the American way. Nothing's more American than a hot dog. You can't deny the people their hot dogs, and I'm sorry if Costco made a bad business move. Sure, they just probably want to put a smile on a child's face with a hot dog, a cheap, filling hot dog. Who am I to take advantage of it? My man likes hot dogs too.
Imagine those pennies I could have saved and put into some crypto. You know, now the crypto bros are upset.
Well,
The war of the Wall Street bros, the Wall Street Reddit, and the crypto bros.
you know, I tell you what, the crypto bros, because I am one of them Crips. We hurting, baby. Pour one out for us, dog.
It's a good time to buy more. Boost it up. If you're really if you're really into crypto, instead of complaining about it, you should buy more and make it.
Dude, my portfolio is so balls deep on crypto. I have no choice but to keep going. I mean, it's not a bad bet. It's not like the $100 that I spent 2 days ago on some gambling website that I came across. $25 I turned into $700. But because I didn't hit the bonus limit or whatever gambling amount to get my bonus cash out, I had to keep going.
You know,
reinvested $100, couldn't make that $700 back.
Just a segue off of financial stuff. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about one of the best professional hippies out there, in my opinion, Johnny Depp. What's going on?
Oh man,
out there right now. I don't know.
Johnny's
you've been keeping
PR
up
team's
with it.
crushing the social media,
Crushing it,
dude.
So good.
Who are you paying off to put these videos together? Because they are so good. I'm not sitting there watching the trial. You know what I mean?
I've been watching the trial, like watching clips. I've been watching. Sometimes I'll watch a whole,
right?
but I'll watch sometimes a full. But sometimes I'll watch. There's the Law and something on YouTube. They've been following it pretty hard and clipping it. But sometimes I'll watch specific witnesses that
How
come
about that
on.
doctor licking his lips?
That was a doctor that got busted in fabricating his fees. Is exactly what that was. And then, because he said, did you watch the before and after that little clip of what that was?
Nah, man. Maybe I didn't.
So he basically said, they asked him how much he earns in his fees, right? And then he said in his deposition that he said he watched the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Deposition.
He said he watched the Pirates of the Caribbean to show what type of Johnny Depp's character is. Now think about that. He gets paid to watch those videos, right? So then he asked him, you can't judge someone by their character from being a pirate in a movie, right? And then he said some bullshit, and he goes, "Well, what about Willy Wonka?" I mean, we've all, for everyone that's seen Willy Wonka, Johnny Depp is a crazy motherfucker,
right?
in that movie. And so the guy was like, "What?" And then he goes, "Willy Wonka from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory." And the guy that's when he did that. And then he goes, "Do I have to answer that?" He realized he got fucking busted in that. And that dude already was looking nuts the whole time. I don't know where they're getting these witnesses from. And then Kate Moss came on today. I don't know if you ever heard about Amber Heard. She was like, I had heard that Kate Moss got pushed down the stairs, which was her Johnny Depp's ex. Mm-hmm. She came on today and was like, "No, that never happened. I never got pushed down the stairs ever in our entire time during our relationship. Never got pushed down the stairs." And that's a good little coffin.
Dude, Amber is crazy.
Amber is crazy.
Crazy, dog.
I am enjoying watching a very high level. People are like, "Oh, this is a distraction," which it is a pretty good distraction from a lot of other things going on. But it's been interesting watching this trial from a high level group of like, "Oh, that's right. these very high level people also have major problems.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not like it's just
They have their day-to-day problems too.
dude, that is some serious woman abuse, bro.
If you watch his character, Johnny, like, if you just look at him from the beginning, day one of the trial to where he's at now, someone had a great actual term, like explanation for it, the glow up term. He is like glowed up from day one to where he's at now, of like his mannerisms, his character, his looks. He looks less tired. He's just smiling, greeting people. He knows.
Yeah.
It's like, he knows even if he lost this situation, he's already won.
Yeah.
Of everything that's been
Exactly.
put out there.
Right. Yeah.
He's already won the whole situation. Man, and she's done. She's done. Her acting career is done for sure. Even they had the president of DC come on as a witness, and then he literally said like, oh yeah, the relationship between they asked like, was Amber a major part of like the script and all that, and they were like, oh no, like it was always about Momoa and this other dude. She was just kind of like, we needed her in there, of course, because that she's part of it, but it's all about this other dude and this other person. They were like, oh yeah, we're thinking about we've been thinking about recasting her after the first one pretty quickly during that.
Damn.
The head of DC came on and said that.
That's not what you want.
And they were like, the only reason why we even thought about bringing him on is because Jason Momoa and the director wanted to keep her, but they were just fighting because they didn't want to have to go through building a relationship with somebody else. But DC's like, they said, so I guess he explained it, that they can fabricate a relationship between two people to be better than what it is through the editing and music and things like that. He's like, sometimes it takes not that much and sometimes it takes a lot. And he goes, it took double a lot to make this work. And they were like, that's just too much. We don't want to do that again. Oh my gosh. It's just been glorious watching these,
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about just watching some public juice, baby.
He's good friends with Marilyn Manson at the beginning. Did you see that when they talked about giving him some pills and they were like, why'd you give him some pills? And he was like, so you'd shut the fuck up.
Super honest answer, man.
He kept talking. He just wanted to quiet him up a little bit.
Yeah, why not? Well, sometimes we got to do what we got to do. Isn't that right?
He was talking about, he was on the trial today. He was talking about Amber Heard had made the accusation that he had eaten 8 to 10 MDMA pills at a time. And so they came on, he was on the stand today and they asked him about it. And he goes, what have you ever taken MDMA? And he said, yes. And he goes, how many times? And he was like, throughout my life, probably 6 or 7 times. And they asked him how much. And he goes, probably not enough to feel the effect of it, which I was like, all right, Johnny, that's a bullshit lie because it don't take that much to affect it. And they were like, well, why? If you would have taken 8 to 10, could you have ever done that? And he was like, oh, no, I'd be dead by now. It's like, oh, if you know that, but then you say you've never felt the effects of it. I was like, that was kind of contradictory. But
yeah.
He just laughed and he was like, oh, I'd be dead by now. I wouldn't be up here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what comes of that case. And it's just something juicy to kind of distract myself with every now and then. But that's what celebrities are there for, quite literally.
That's what they're there for, and they're producing it. And
dude, why not?
I don't know why it was the trial was moved from California to Virginia, but there's laws in Virginia that allow a trial like this to be able to be publicized.
Yeah.
So I believe one of the law firm's teams, my guess is Amber's team, requested it for it to be moved to Virginia so she could build a public portrayal of it. And I think it has royally backfired on them.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I would say not whoever, because if it was Johnny's team, fucking bravo, huh?
Well, it was Amber's team is from Virginia. I looked up the lawyers. Johnny's team is from LA. So I believe it was Amber's team that requested it to be in Virginia
Wow.
because
Whoever did.
her law firm is based there.
They did a big
Whoever
enough
did,
job.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you guys. Whatever law firm was like, let's portray this out to the world.
Well, speaking of law firms, let's sorry if that's bad feedback. Here.
Wow. You're the Mr. Feedback, and you're like, let's just knock on wood.
You know, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna introduce it. I'll get a mallet so it's appropriate. It sounds correct the next time, or just upload a sound. Either way,
I'm just going to get a fan clacker.
I think that would be a bit more appropriate.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I got somebody, because I'm not going to SMF this weekend, but I got someone putting a bunch of beach balls out there with our stickers. So if you see them, grab one, scan
Call it
them.
back, y'all. By the way, if you listen to this episode and you dug what we're digging, if you could
Yeah.
take a screenshot of the episode or give us a shout out on your Instagram. Most importantly, just drop a like or review wherever you're listening, wherever you're watching. Another shout out to Spotify. You can watch what we're talking about in the app, which is pretty cool. Yeah, we got to get that dialed in with Anchor, but they like us, so we'll get that figured out. Dylan, you got anything else for him, buddy?
Keep on living, people. Keep on making money. Keep on living your dreams. Put some money in the market. Put some money towards your family. Smoke some weed. Do some mushrooms. Relax. Kick back. You deserve it.
You deserve it all. All right, till next week. Bye, guys.
Peace, everybody.